How much room is there for you in your calendar? If you're anything like the folks that I've been working with, you've made time for like all the things, your job, your family, your chores. But when it comes to like you, your goals, your aspirations, your hopes, the projects, the ideas that you want to bring into life, they're probably on the back burner. And don't worry, I think most of us are like in that situation where we prioritize the obligations and the commitments outside of ourselves and we want to deliver. We want to make sure that people know we're freaking dependable, of course, but at the risk of ourselves. And so then the question becomes like, why do I still have the same fitness goals, the same learning goals, the same books to read on the list that I had last year and the year before and the year before that? Well, I think it's because we just straight up do not prioritize ourselves or make time for us to work on those things. Like we don't dedicate time to it in our calendar. If you're a calendar user, if you're not, hang with me. I'm going to talk about some things that can help you put yourself first, make yourself a priority. And by make yourself a priority, what I mean is get some momentum on making some progress on those projects, on those goals, on those dreams, on those things that you keep saying someday, someday, someday. I'm going to share some stuff that helps me like get those balls rolling. And the beautiful thing is once those balls are rolling, stuff really just starts happening. And so the first thought is to like think about all the things that you have in your world and put them into buckets. I have a bunch of buckets, but there's 3 buckets that anybody can start with. One bucket is job. Like what is the job? What is the thing that you have to do? Go to work, go to school, whatever that is, the job. Because those things take time and we kind of got to do them so we can have the future and the comforts and all the things that we have. The other bucket is people. And when I say people, I'm talking about your people, like your family, your community, your friends, like all of those things that maybe they bleed into the job, maybe they don't. But those things that's another bucket, right? I got to spend time with my family, got to do holiday stuff, there's weddings and all those things. And then there's you. And you're probably feeling it already, like, I never really think about me. That's the point here. And so think about the big rocks. Look at your calendar. If you use a calendar, pull out your calendar. And I don't care if it's a digital calendar or if it's one of those like write down paper planners. Take that bad boy out and look at it. And like really examine all the things that you have written down. How many of them or how much space does job take up? It's probably going to take most of the space. How much space does your people take up? And then how much space do you take up? My gut tells me there's very little time and probably no time at all that accounts for you, for your commitment to yourself, to your dreams, to your goals, to your targets. And now that you did like a super fast inventory by just looking at your calendar and seeing what buckets, what all that time is committed to, and you're starting to think of like, man, I really wanted to learn how to play guitar. I really wanted to build that deck in the backyard. I really wanted to start that little side hustle of mine. Like, yeah, exactly. So what I want you to do now is get you something to write with or type it away, get out your keyboard and start banging on that bad boy. I want you to make a list of the goals, the projects, the ideas, the dreams, the aspirations that have been in the back of your mind forever and ever and write them down, okay? Write every single one of them down. I'm not a genie here. I'm not going to make them all happen. But the idea is to get them out of your head. Because once they get out of your head, they're a little closer to like actually becoming something for real. Okay, I want you to hit pause and write down all the things, all the tinkering projects, hopes, dreams, goals, ideas. I want you to write them down. I want you to hit pause and write those things down. Super quick. Doesn't matter if you can read them or not, but just dump them out, whatever that is. Playing the guitar, learning a new language, spending more time, giving your family more TLC, undivided attention, starting your side hustle, whatever it is, write them down. And after you do, unpause this bad boy and we'll go on to the next step. Okay, Maybe you didn't hit pause, and that's okay. I'm not going to tell anybody. What I want you to do is look at the list that you just wrote down, or maybe you kept it in your head, and pick one. I don't care how you pick it. Just pick one of those things. And then I want you to go back to your calendar, and I want you to find some space. In the next 3 to 6 weeks, find a space, an empty space that's not already committed to something. And I want you to fill in like a 2-hour block. And if you could do 4, 6, or 8, do it. Find that block of time and write down that thing, whatever it is, that goal, number one. I know that feels a little bit scary, that feels a little bit silly, or maybe you're struggling to like find time in the next 3 to 6 weeks because you got so much stuff on there. If that's the case, then maybe next 6 to 10 weeks. Find the block. The point is, find the space and time in there and write down that thing that you want to work on. Okay? All right. Now, if you really, really want to increase the probability of you actually moving on that thing and making something happen, you got to like get it out. First, you got it out of your head. Now you wrote it down somewhere. Now you need to put it out into the universe. One good way to do that is to leave it in the comments. Drop a note in the comment of what that big thing was or is, so that we know, so we can support you. And now it's like, oh my God, it might actually happen. You're probably going to get nervous because like, if I admit it to somebody else, now it's a commitment. Like, no, it's a commitment to you first. But if you invite other people along to play with you, then you're more likely to actually do the damn thing. And I want to be fully transparent. The simple act of writing it down doesn't make it happen. It increases the likelihood of it happening. The action of sharing it with other people, telling other people, releasing it into the world doesn't make the thing happen. It increases the likelihood of it happening. Okay? So what you've done so far is you've upped the percentage of you actually moving on these things that are important to you. You've actually prioritized you and made a commitment to you, and that is powerful. Now, plans don't mean a damn thing without execution. I'm going to say it again. Your plan don't mean nothing if you don't execute. You're just going to write it again next month and write it again next month, and you've planned, but you haven't accomplished anything, and that ain't what we're about. So the next step is guard that time, right? You're going to see it. It's going to be every day, every minute that ticks by. That bad boy's on your calendar. And so now what you can do is when people say, hey man, I got this thing, you want to do this thing, or I need help with this thing, you say, man, I can't do it on that day. I'm already booked. You don't even have to tell them why you're saying no. All you got to say is, no, I'm already booked at that time. That time's already taken. Can we do it another time? This is you like building the strength of guarding your calendar and valuing yourself. And then when it actually comes to the date, whatever date you wrote down, all you have to do is work on the thing. Now, here's another trip hazard that people get. They get all wound up like, oh, well, it's really big and I can't finish it and I don't know all the steps. And they're like, that's okay. Because all we want to do is move that ball just a little bit. So on that day, wherever you mark that 2-hour block or 4-hour block, whatever you committed to it, you're just going to sit down and think about it. If you already know what the first step is, take the first step, right? Like if you said, I want to build the deck, well, you need to have a material list for that deck. So sit down and write down the material list. Or maybe you want to get fancy and you need somebody to design it for you. Freaking reach out to a couple of designers so they can give you some options so you can get the ball rolling. Again, this time that you're committing to yourself is not about like waving a wand and making everything happen in one day. It's about having a commitment to yourself to move the ball on the things that are important to you. And then when that time comes, you actually sit down and take action and make progress on the thing. You want to focus on progress over perfection. If it's just sketching it out and thinking about it a little bit, that counts the first time. The second time, you got to take a bigger action. But that's the magic of it, is once you get that ball rolling, you start getting momentum, you take the first little baby step. Then it makes the next step becomes super, super clear. And then you just got to take that step. And then the next step becomes super, super clear. But if you don't make time for you, if you don't account for yourself and like dedicate a chunk of time to make your dreams, your goals, your projects like come to reality, it's never going to happen. It's going to stay on your list. Now, if this little speech, this little sermon landed with you, share it with a friend. And let me know in the comments, like what stood out to you, and if you think it's all rah hogwash, I don't mind if you let me know, because that comment's gonna give me some impressions too. Be kind to yourself, be cool, and we'll talk at you next time. Peace!